Hello, and welcome to What Did I Miss?, where today I am taking a look at the 7th episode of the 3rd season of Star Trek Discovery, titled Unification III, and looking for Easter eggs, references, and things you may not have realized. We are now past the halfway point of the 13-episode season, and Discovery came out swinging with an episode designed as a threequel to a beloved storyline from The Next Generation. It seems that it may be by design that this episode does draw directly on threads started in a past series, as Discovery has done this with the metal episode of a season in each of its first 2 seasons, with last season's visit to Talos 4 in the episode If Memory Serves, and Harry Mudd terrorizing the crew in the first season episode Magic to Make the Sanest Man Go Mad. As I have done in my past 2 videos, I will not be divulging any spoilers until we get to the breakdown portion after the intro, but all in all, I felt this episode was a big letdown. There's a line said by one of the characters during the episode that Starfleet are using the memory of Spock to invoke emotion from the audience of the scene, and in a way, I think this is a fair critique of the episode itself. There was more than one questionable character development, and while the writers did try to make this decision seem to be more logical, in the end, I still think the choices made were forced. In all honesty, I've been excited for this one episode more so than any other since the title was released, because the episodes that it continues from The Next Generation are 2 of my favorite. In the end, I think this episode did not do as much service to the legacy of the storyline as I believe they attempted to, and fell short of expectation. But that is just my opinion. Let me know in the comments if you agree, or if I totally missed the plot on this one. Also, if you're enjoying this video, please hit that like button, and if this is your first time here, smash that subscribe button as well for weekly Star Trek videos. This is What Did I Miss? This is your spoiler warning for the week, so from now on I'll be going into the events of the episode, as well as events that occurred throughout Trek history. The episode starts with Burnham giving a voiceover of where she is at emotionally. When she arrives on Booker's ship, he is sitting in bed and it looks like his forehead is activated like we saw earlier in the season. I wonder if he's actually communicating to other life forms with this technology. Is anyone else starting to feel like he is a plant by another faction in this story? It is worth mentioning that David Ayala has played some shifty characters in the past very well, and I wouldn't be surprised if that is why he was cast here. I'm constructing a theory video about what race may be responsible for the burn, and I'm starting to think that Book may be involved in that plot. Stay tuned for that video. I hope to have it out early next week, but let me know in the comments, do you think Book is a double agent or is he legit? We then see Tilly and Burnham together, first discussing the events of the last episode, and then discussing the time discrepancies found on the black boxes that they have found. Burnham then brings up a project known as SB-19 that she found in her research, which I can't help but think is sort of prophetic, given the fact that the same year this season was written and filmed, COVID-19 became a global catastrophe that, among other things, cut people off from each other. This also means that the number 19 may not be the version of the project, but the year it was created. Burnham goes with Saru to bring this information to Admiral Vance, and he states that he is aware of the project, but that the information is classified on the planet Navarre, which is what Vulcan is now called. In the show Enterprise, there was a Vulcan ship named the Navarre, and Vulcans do name their ships after people and places of significance, like the Federation and Klingons have shown to do. But it is interesting that they would change the name of the planet to a Vulcan one, so the person or place must have significance to both races. Since the events of Picard, it appears that Vulcans and Romulans share the planet as well as the government, thanks in large part to the work of Ambassador Spock. It is at this point that we really dive into the origins of the Unification storyline and Spock's role in them. For those of you that are not aware or have not watched them in a while, the episodes dealt with Spock going on a rogue mission to Romulus to reunite them with the Vulcans. Picard and Data had to go undercover to find him, and in doing so gain a better understanding of the history of their shared culture. It is also important because Sarek, Spock's father and show played on Discovery by James Frain, dies in this episode, and Picard and Spock share his thoughts due to a mind meld that Picard and Sarek once had, which establishes a deep relationship between the 2 of them from that moment onward. Picard seems to also be carrying on this legacy of helping the Romulans, first by defeating Shinzon in Star Trek Nemesis, and then hiring Romulans on his vineyard after the destruction of their planet. This storyline also led Spock to the events that caused him to enter a separate timeline after he tried to save Romulus in the 2009 Star Trek movie, which I think when Vance mentions that Spock died may be a ruse and he knows he traveled in time, but cannot say due to the temporal accords. Besides the Romulans, Spock was also instrumental in getting the Klingons to agree to the Khitomer Accords, which were a peace treaty with the Federation and ultimately saved their race from extinction. Vance also discusses the SB-19 project and how it was Navarre that developed it, Apparently, Navarre was aware of the dangers of the project, and even knowing this, the Federation pushed them to continue development. The Vulcans and Romulans believe it was because of the Federation's insistence they continue the project that caused the burn, and it led them to leave the Federation. This distrust between the Vulcans and Starfleet can be traced all the way back to the First Contact, as it was revealed many times by Jonathan Archer that the Vulcans held back the NX or Warp 5 program for 100 years because they felt humans were not ready for space travel. It is at this point too that the episode begins to underwhelm for me. When Vance realizes that Burnham is Spock's sister and that the Vulcans and Romulans would be more willing to listen to her, I thought it was a bad choice. Again, the episode to me feels like it is leaning very heavily on the nostalgia of the original, and in my opinion, the scene basically calls that out. To the credit of the show, you can see even Burnham and Saru get uncomfortable when Vance brings up this rather desperate ploy. Burnham then brings up an archive of a speech Leonard Nimoy gave as Spock during the Unification episodes. I like that they used actual footage and didn't use Ethan Peck or some de-aging technology to recreate the scene or something like that. It is also telling that Burnham retrieves the file from the personal files of Admiral Jean-Luc Picard, reinforcing the importance of this relationship to Picard. It is also telling that the computer refers to him as an admiral, so it looks like whatever he does in the show does not demote him. Burnham mentions that she held herself back from looking at Spock's life, which was something I've been wondering about since the first episode, because if it was me and I got sent to the future, the first thing I would do would be checking on my loved ones. Hey, so really quick, I just want to say thank you to fansets.com. They sent me these really cool pins in the mail, and I just want to show them off to you guys. Look at all the detail and craftsmanship in these things. They're metal, they're heavy, they're weighted. They're just really cool. You got to have them. You can head over to fansets.com and check out their entire selection. And maybe when this channel gets closer to 1,000 subscribers, I'll give away a set to one lucky subscriber. We then cut to Saru and Tilly and the second part of the episode that I did not agree with, which is that Saru decides to promote Tilly to first officer. In the past, it has been shown that Starfleet will allow battle commissions to be given to individuals that deserve them that may throw them into more prominent roles. Like the one time Kirk went from basically kicked out of Starfleet to first officer and then captain in like 2 days. But giving Tilly, who was an ensign and was a cadet just a few years ago, the second in command position is just too far a jump for me. Picture this right now. If the Discovery were attacked and Saru injured or killed, do you really think Tilly would jump in the chair? Let me know in the comments. Do you think Tilly has what it takes to not only be first officer, but captain? Because that is a larger ramification of the first officer job. That if the captain goes down, you are the captain. And even though I honestly love Tilly's character and have enjoyed her development to this point, it is just too far a jump. I understand that her Mirror Universe counterpart was a very powerful captain by this point, and that from what we know about her mother, that she has an alpha-type personality as well. But still, I would rather have seen this happen after she at least got promoted to lieutenant. Also, can you imagine how Garrett Wang felt watching this scene? Discovery then jumps to Navarre using the upgrades to the spore drive that we saw Adira complete last episode. They are greeted by Tarina, who is the president of Navarre. I was trying to think if we have ever seen a president on Vulcan, so the term may be a new one to their government, but if you remember a Vulcan that wasn't known as a diplomat or ambassador in their government, let me know in the comments. She is honored to meet Michael and states that she wishes that Spock could see how his work has led to this new planet. Burnham states that she thinks he would find it fascinating, which is a quote that Spock is known to use, and honestly, when Zachary Quinto said it for the first time in the reboot, I jumped out of my chair. Tarina is unwilling to share any data with the Federation due to its impact on their culture, and does not want to harm its efforts of unification. Burnham then goes rogue again, and invokes a ceremony known as the Takal Enquete, which is designed to bring truth to scientific discovery. This move does not make the president of Navarre happy, and I love how in the next scene with them on the transporter pad, they are already walking, showing how they are ready to get this over with. The president tells Burnham that her advocate will be a member of the Qowat Milat, which is an awesome way to tie in the events of the series Picard into Discovery, as the Qowat Milat were the sect of female warrior nuns that took in Elnor and raised him to be a badass. Their defining trait, besides being amazing warriors, is that unlike most Romulans, they are very truthful and forthcoming. The Qowat Milat's sister that will be advocating for Burnham turns out to be her mother, who has been lost since the events of last season. She states that she did not land on Terra Elysium, which is where they both thought they would land, but rather on Esau 4, which was a planet in the episode named the Red Angel last season. I like the detail of them holding onto each other as they walk down the hallway, since the last time they saw each other, they were not able to touch each other. I also like that her mother mentioned that the Kuat-Malat only attach themselves to lost causes, which is another callback to Picard, as that is why Elnor is bound to Picard. We then see Saru and Tarina speaking about the relationship between their people, and Tarina mentions that one of the reasons for the burn was the dilithium was becoming scarce, partially due to the Federation spreading itself too thin over too many members. She inverts the famous needs of the many phrase, which has been said multiple times on Star Trek but was first coined by Spock in the movie Wrath of Khan. I really thought this was interesting, since Discovery is often blamed with having a social justice warrior agenda, but this scene really could be seen as an argument against that liberal philosophy and attaching it to the motivations and repercussions of the Federation. But what did you think? Were you surprised that the show subverted one of Star Trek's most well-known phrases? Saru tries to plead the Federation's case and states that sometimes we learn our greatest lessons when we pay a heavy price, which seems to strike a nerve with Tarina, and should, because the reason the Romulans unified with Vulcan was largely in part because of the devastation of their own planet. The Quarren begins, and it does not go well. The Navarre Alliance does not see fit to share the information with the Federation, despite Burnham's evidence. Her mother is able to draw the total truth out of her by getting her to admit that she is not being completely truthful with her motivations. Before the Council can decide on a course of action, Burnham withdraws her request for the data, which sways President Tarina to give the data to Burnham to continue her investigation. Meanwhile, Tilly is surprised by members of the bridge crew who encourage her to accept the first officer position. Burnham arrives late to give her the final vote of confidence and tells her that she is staying on Discovery. My final thoughts about the episode are that it did not live up to my expectations, mainly due to the choices the writers decided to go with the characters. Besides Tilly becoming the first officer, I really did not like Burnham's mother showing up to be her advocate. It felt very forced, and instead of being surprised by seeing her face under her veil, my reaction was that I was confused why they would decide to go that route. Her pushing Michael to give her real truth made it a bit more meaningful, but I think that a good Vulcan advocate could have done just as good a job. The reoccurring theme of 3 that I have been mentioning throughout the season continues into this episode, as not only is the Roman numeral 3 used in the title of the episode, but the Vulcans and Romulans state they are looking for truth, facts, and logic. There are also 3 members of the Vulcan-Romulan Council, and Burnham and Tilly need 3 ships to find the source of the burn. I really wonder how it is going to work into the final resolution of the season, or perhaps it has something to do with the burn. Which again, I will be releasing a video next week on my theory for the cause, so look out for that. But you let me know, what did I miss? What did you think of the episode, and do you have any theories about what caused the burn? If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and subscribe for more weekly content. I will see you next time on What Did I Miss?